Hello everyone, and welcome back to a topic that frankly makes me want to crawl under my desk with a stiff drink and a noise-cancelling helmet, but alas, someone has to talk about it. In this video, we're diving into why Donald Trump's potential return to office in 2025 could spell disaster for the US economy. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't we just go through this? Haven't we suffered enough? And to that I say you're not wrong. But sadly, history has a nasty habit of repeating itself, especially when we don't learn from it the first time. So buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to dissect the economic hellscape that could be unleashed if Trump gets his tiny, Cheeto-dusted fingers back on the levers of power. Let's take a look at the top 10 reasons why Trump could ruin the economy once again. Let's start with the economic equivalent of setting your own hair on fire and then wondering why it smells like burning. During his previous term, Trump seemed to think that trade wars were easy to win. Spoiler alert, they're not. They're about as easy to win as a staring contest with a statue, except in this case, the statue is the global economy and the loser is the American people. Remember those tariffs he slapped on Chinese goods? Well, American businesses and consumers ended up footing the bill for those, not China. It was like trying to punish your neighbor by punching yourself in the face. It's painful, ineffective, and leaves everyone wondering if you've lost your bloody mind. Trickle-down economics. The theory that if you give enough money to the wealthy, they'll magically decide to share it with everyone else. It's an economic philosophy that's been debunked more times than flat earther conspiracy theories. Yet here we are, staring down the barrel of another round of it. Trump's 2017 tax cuts, largely benefiting corporations and the already wealthy, did exactly what every economist with a shred of credibility said they would: ballooned the national debt while doing diddly squat for the average American worker. It's like giving a billionaire a bigger yacht and expecting him to use it to ferry the middle class to a magical island of prosperity. It's not just illogical, it's economically irresponsible. Remember that time you ate a gas station sushi and spent the next 48 hours questioning every life choice that led you to that moment? That's kind of what deregulation feels like, except instead of questionable seafood, it's our environment and financial systems that are being put at risk. Trump's love affair with deregulation is like watching a toddler let loose in a china shop. Chaotic, destructive, and ultimately very, very expensive. Rolling back environmental regulations might please a few fossil fuel executives, but it comes at the cost of our planet's health and ultimately our own. Let's talk about immigration, or more specifically, Trump's approach to immigration, which can best be described as if a problem can be solved with a giant, expensive wall that achieves absolutely nothing, then, by God, build that wall. Never mind that the US economy relies on immigrant labor in various sectors. Trump's restrictive immigration policies not only ripped families apart and fueled xenophobia, but they also threatened to create labor shortages in key industries. It's like going to a buffet, throwing out half the food because you don't like the way it looks, and then complaining that you're still hungry. Ah, yes, the COVID-19 pandemic, a global crisis that tested the leadership of every world leader. And how did Trump handle it? With the grace of a drunken rhinoceros in a china shop and the scientific accuracy of a Facebook meme, from downplaying the severity of the virus to peddling unproven cures, Trump's response to the pandemic was like watching a dumpster fire try to extinguish itself with gasoline. The result? A devastating economic downturn that could have been mitigated with competent leadership and a smidgen of empathy. Diplomacy, for Trump, seemed to involve lobbing insults on Twitter and cozying up to dictators while simultaneously alienating long-standing allies. It was like watching a real-life game of how many international norms can we violate before lunch. This erratic approach to foreign policy created uncertainty and instability in the global market. It's hard to do business when your leader keeps changing the rules of the game on a whim, or worse, seems hell-bent on burning the whole board to the ground. Climate change is real, it's happening, and it's going to cost us dearly, both in terms of our environment and our economy. But try telling that to Trump, a man who once called climate change a hoax invented by the Chinese. Ignoring climate change is like ignoring a ticking time bomb because you don't like the sound it makes. It's not going to stop the inevitable, it's just going to make the explosion that much more catastrophic when it finally happens. Under Trump's presidency, the stock market resembled a roller coaster designed by someone who'd only ever seen a roller coaster in their nightmares. It was a wild, unpredictable ride, fueled by impulsive tweets and erratic policy decisions. This kind of volatility might be exciting for day traders with a penchant for risk, but for the average investor and the overall economy, it's a recipe for disaster. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of jelly. Good luck with that. If there's one thing we learned from Trump's previous administration, it's that he has about as much interest in social programs as a cat has in taking a bath. In his eyes, healthcare, education, and social safety nets are not essential services, but rather inconvenient expenses that cut into his golf budget. Cutting funding for these programs might look good on paper to those who prioritize profit over people, but it ultimately weakens the very fabric of our society, and yes, even our economy. Perhaps the most worrying aspect of a potential second Trump term is the sheer unpredictability of it all. This is a man who thrives on chaos, who sees division and discord not as problems to be solved, but rather as tools to be wielded against his opponents. This kind of instability is poison to the economy. Businesses need certainty, investors need confidence, and the American people need a leader who isn't going to send them into a Twitter-fueled frenzy every other day. So there you have it, folks. These are just some of the reasons why a Trump presidency in 2025 could be detrimental to the US economy. And honestly, we've only just scratched the surface here. The truth is, re-electing Trump would be like voluntarily stepping back into a horror movie you barely survived the first time around. It's a gamble, a risky bet on a man who has repeatedly shown that he's more interested in self-preservation and enriching himself and his cronies than in serving the American people. Stay informed, stay engaged, and for the love of all that is economically stable, make sure to vote wisely. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content.